Change is painful, and most people won't do it until it's so fucking painful that they got to change. And so some people will go right to the edge of that and then go, God, I got to change my life. When as if you just realize that, you know what? Life's going to throw you curveballs.
No matter what.
So sometimes you're going to whiff. Sometimes you better hit them. Life's going to throw you fastballs. Sometimes you're going to whiff, and sometimes you're going to hit them. But as long as life's throwing you things that you know will be opportunities, because every challenge is an opportunity, opportunities for your growth and transformation, then you might as well seize that moment and go for it.
Hey, I'm Joe Fier, and welcome to the Hustle and Flow Chart podcast. This is where we talk all about building businesses so they give you the freedom and fuel for your life. I'm not here to help you build a billion-dollar business, but I am here to help you create a business with systems that work for you so you can make more money than you need just by working part-time. You know, I was a chronic hustle mode kind of guy, and I want to share my experiences and mentors I've met along the way to help you reframe things to be the most effective as an entrepreneur. I wish I had this guidance and insight when I was younger, so that's what I'm doing here for you. Please share and enjoy. Your sales software shouldn't be a bummer, and when you step inside your CRM, you should actually feel equipped to do your best work. It's kind of like being in the pilot seat by having all the easy-to-use controls. Well, that's what HubSpot's doing with the new Sales Hub. It's all designed to have you win quarter over quarter, year over year, all the way from the intuitive prospecting workspace using AI-powered tools. The point is to reduce your workflow, all the work on managing leads, the follow-ups, basically making closing deals a no big deal at all. So this is how you can wrangle your day-to-day tasks using a seamless platform that basically navigates all the contacts, calls, analytics, all in one spot. ChatSpot is also the AI-powered tool that helps you personalize a lot of things in your CRM, basically like little assistants working for you. You just got to prompt it, and basically it pulls up a contact, sums up different sales, or researches your competitors. It helps you automate a lot of things during the sales pipeline so your team or yourself can take your time back. And the whole point is to make this easier and more effective for you. So this is the time for you to close more deals and get you on track for your best Q1 yet. Learn more about HubSpot Sales Hub over at hubspot.com/sales. Paul, we're doing this. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking a lot, my friend. It's great to have you here on the show finally.
Joe, it's my honor to be on the show with you, bro. You know, you're just an incredible human being, and anybody that listens to this podcast and knows Joe Fier is a stand-up human being, and I'm honored to know you, brother.
Hey, it goes both ways tremendously. I was just raving about the beautiful music tracks you shared with me, and I mean, we'll get into music because you got a long old history of music, but the fact that you're cranking these puppies out still, and you're doing it in such a fabulous, creative, collaborative way with movements, and you know, there's a purpose behind it all. So I was jamming to those prior to this while getting my ducks in a row. Yeah, man. And it just, I got to give you love because like everyone seems to know you, and that's a good thing, you know, and they're always, like you said, if they're talking about you, it's a good thing, and it's true. And
thanks,
yeah, it's good vibes all around. That's what you spread. That's why you're here. I know that's why we keep chatting all the time, you know, a little 15 minutes here, hour there, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get you on this thing, but also your own podcast. I know you have a couple in the works that you're about to release. Plug one or all of them now if you want, man.
Well, first of all, I'm excited because, you know, see, you're smarter than I am, and since I've been talking to you about you know the right way to do a podcast because you're an expert at it, Joe, and you know your podcast is just awesome. Actually, obviously, I met you through one of the people that you've taught how to do a podcast. You know, Kimmy Seltzer, right?
That's right.
And then you know I did hers. So I've got a couple of podcasts. My own personal one, which I'm hopefully going to launch, I would say maybe within 3 weeks, is called Transformational Havoc with Paul Hoffman. And people go, what's Transformational Havoc? Well, I said, well, you listen, man, if you want to take your life to the next level, you got to create some disruption and havoc and let the old stuff go so the new stuff can come in. And so I do a little play on the whole thing about. There's a movie called The Usual Suspects, right?
Yeah.
And I think you've seen that movie. It was years ago. And so my theme line for the podcast is I interview the unusual suspects, and you'd be one of them, Joe. The unusual suspects who make every moment a defining one. And the other podcast that I'm working on is with our good friend Lee Richter, who you know quite well. And Lee and I are doing one around music, consciousness, and technology.
Man, so it all fits into your wheelhouse, hers as well, Lee's. And I'm excited for Transformational Havoc to hit the airwaves everywhere.
I appreciate that. Me too, man. I'm going to lean on you, bro.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm ready. It's fun, man. I love working with you and people with high vibes like you. I mean, that's what my mission's to help others express themselves and create that positive ripple. And podcasting is my jam. You've done it through music for so long and just connecting and the sculpting your life. I mean, that's where the core of this chat we're going to have is. I would love to unpack the layers of your life that you've sculpted and chipped away, like Michelangelo.
Yeah, but you're right about Michelangelo because, the metaphor for sculpting your life is when Michelangelo saw the block of granite, which was discolored, cracked, defected. Nobody wanted it. None of those other artists back in those times wanted it, but he did because he saw David. And all he did was take everything in the way, out of the way, and there's David. So if anybody that's listening has ever seen the statue of David, and I have, it's an unbelievable piece of artwork, okay? I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful expression of creativity. And so, through all the trials and tribulations that I've been through in my life, and we could talk about them all, I realized that, you know what? One of the things that I'm really passionate about for myself is to discover and uncover all the layers of crap that I've been carrying all my life, which get in the way of who I am.
Yeah.
And so being able to create this concept called sculpting your life and using Michelangelo as the metaphor gave me the opportunity to understand that the biggest obstacle to success in anybody's life, including me, is me. So I mean, I'm really good at getting in my own way. I'm actually getting better every day in really becoming more and more of who I truly am. But the truth of the matter is, as I tell all the people that I have the opportunity to do what I call personal discovery journeys with, because I brand myself as the personal discovery architect.
Right? I love it. Yeah.
Right? Because, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of trainers, there's a lot of teachers, and and I'm one of those kind of people that likes to invent my own language, as you well know, and sometimes it gets me in trouble, sometimes it doesn't, I don't really care, but that's just who I am. And so, since there's so much noise out there, okay, and we all know what some of that noise is, there's good noise, bad noise, left noise, right noise, up noise, down noise, whatever, it doesn't really matter, but there's so much noise out there, I might as well just create my own.
What's stopping you, man?
You know what I mean?
You.
Yeah. What's stopping me is me, exactly. So being able to understand that since the biggest obstacle to my life or to my success or to have what I want is me, then it just stands to reason that once I learn how to get out of my own way, then I get to sculpt the masterpiece known as me.
Yeah. All right. So I love the metaphor. I love your story. I want to dive into your story. Selfishly, I know glimmers of it, and it's wide reaching, it seems, and it continues to this day. I love that you're tapped into what you've been doing for so long, but through that, and music being one, and maybe the core, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like that's been the anchor throughout your life, at least the expression you put out into the world, along with the good vibes and the energy. Probably wasn't always like that, huh? I'm imagining.
No, and it's so funny because, I and just to be totally transparent, I resist, and I love that word resist because, most of us do resist. I was actually just writing something about hesitation and resistance. And the truth is, so music has always been a part of my life, okay? I'm a self-taught musician, bro.
Yeah.
I can play enough to be dangerous, okay? A keyboard. I got a recording studio back there, and and you know, my probably favorite band of all times is the Beatles. Okay, and from the Beatles, there's the Eagles, and then the Rolling Stones, and you know, I remember the first kiss I ever had was to Led Zeppelin's "Whole Lot of Love," and
Cool.
but so music has always been a part of my life, but I resist the whole idea, and maybe I shouldn't, Joe. Thank you for kind of giving me this opportunity. I resist the fact that, you know, music is just a part of my life. And sometimes I get caught up in this whole thing of, well, that's music is who I identify with. And I think music is just one of the stepping stones to what I do in life, right? And so when I was, you know, I went to college on a basketball scholarship, bro. You know, when my brother and I were very, very young, you know, in our probably early teens. You know, we had like a little karaoke. I'll call it a karaoke group with our friend Tony Geritano, and we used to sing Beatles songs. We used to sing to the records, right?
Yeah.
And then you know, I played sports in high school, and I went to college on a basketball scholarship. Excuse me, to the University of Vermont, and you know, basketball was my thing, man. I really, really love basketball. You know, I'm a suffering New York Knicks fan. If anybody on this likes the New York Knicks, I'm a suffering New York Knicks. They lost last night, but whatever, it's all good. So I ended up going to school on a basketball scholarship, and then, as fate would have it, again, I'm still not playing anything, Joe. I'm still not doing any of that stuff. I might be singing in the shower or whatever, and I realized that everything in life, this is a metaphor for me, everything in life, if you want to go to the next level in your life, this is where transformational havoc comes in. If you want to go to the next level in your life, then you got to do something different. Because if you're doing the same old, I think it's the definition of insanity, whatever it was. And trust me, I've practiced insanity. But to go to the next level of your life, you got to do something different. So I remember, man, I was really, really good in high school, bro. I mean, there were times when we were in like timeouts at the basketball, you know, playing the game, and I would be telling the coach, "Hey, coach, they know what we're doing, man. We got to do something different." And he would say to me, "You know, Hoffman, you read too many. You read your articles too much, bro. Okay?" And it was whatever. But I remember what he meant by that, right? And so I ended up going to the University of Vermont and Division I school, and I remember going out on the court the first day, right? Here's a kid from Brewster, New York, playing in a Division I school in Vermont. It wasn't North Carolina, it wasn't Duke, it didn't matter. It was still a Division I school.
D1, yeah.
And I remember getting out on the court the first day and looking around and going, "Holy shit, these guys are good."
What did I get into here?
So I got to up level my game. And so, you know what? I did. But I had this really little thing in the back of my mind, which I think most people sometimes have, which was I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. Self-worth issues, and we can get into that in a little bit. And so I played basketball. I played for a year. However, my claim to fame in the University of Vermont was, okay, I was a freshman. I played varsity, but I played against Julius Erving.
Wow.
Because Dr. J went to University of Massachusetts. Right, so he was in the same conference, the Yankee conference. Now, I didn't guard him. I was on the court at the same time as he was. So it was like one of those kind of things. And then years later, when I got into the jingle business, which we can talk about as well, I got hired by an agency in Boston called Humphrey Browning McDougall. I don't know if they're I don't even know if they're in there anymore or doing it anymore. And they said, "Hey, Paul, listen, we got our client is Converse sneakers. We'd love you to write the theme song for it." I said, "Well, tell me a little bit more about it." They said, "Well, the spokesperson is Julius Erving, Dr. J." So I said, "So what's the concept?" They said, "The concept is, hey, Dr. J, where'd you get those shoes?" So I wrote a jingle about that. I'll try to find it and send it to you.
Oh, yeah. It's probably on YouTube or something. I know a lot of your stuff is.
It could be. So I remember that, okay, so I gave up on myself, okay? And so then I decided, and at the same time, my high school girlfriend came to college with me, right? And it was a freaking mess, bro. Okay, and so I quit school, and I said, okay, what am I going to do? So I think I'm going to go back and maybe go back to Brewster, and who knows what I'm going to do. and a buddy of mine was quitting school at the same time. So this is now the second phase of my, I guess, my life, whatever. Third phase, fourth phase, whatever it is. So his name was Neil Ratner. So he said, so Paul, what are you going to do? I said, Neil, I don't know. He said, well, why don't you come and work with me? I said, well, what are you doing, man? He said, well, I'm going to go work as the road manager for a band called Edgar Winter's White Trash. Okay? Now, I said, oh, great. Well, what would I do? He said, well, you'll be a roadie. And I said, well, what's a roadie? He said, you'll drive a truck around and set up equipment. I said, Neil, I've never set up an amplifier in my life, never plugged anything in my life except maybe a light socket. He said, don't worry, we'll have a lot of fun. Okay, cool. So he moved to Rhinebeck, New York, lived in a farmhouse of 26 people, the band, the wives, the kids, the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I got into the rock and roll world, bro. And I bought the Beatle boots. I had long hair,
Yeah.
And I drove around the country in a U-Haul truck, setting up stages for Edgar Winter's White Trash. Now, we had a record deal on Columbia Records. And so we opened up for bands like Humble Pie, 10 Years After, Yes, Chicago, Allman Brothers. And so it's like,
Wow.
I'm at Rod Stewart. I'm in this like rock world, bro.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a year. And then that band, then Neil got fired because he was very, very irresponsible, the road manager. So they made me the road manager of the band, and then the band broke up. And these guys were like all friends from childhood, bro. The band broke up.
It's tough.
And so I worked with Edgar for a minute when he did Frankenstein, dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
that thing. So I worked with Edgar for a minute. And then Jerry LaCroix, who's the lead singer of Edgar Winter's White Trash, the other band, called me up and said, "Hey man, I'm starting the next incarnation of White Trash. It'll be Jerry LaCroix's White Trash." And most of the band members came with Jerry. He said, "Would you manage me?"
Oh man.
I said, "Jerry, I have no idea how to manage a rock and roll band. I have no idea how to do it." He said, "Don't worry, man. I think you can do it." So I said, "Okay, great." So I'm one of those kind of guys, Joe. I'm Italian, man. I throw stuff on the wall I see with sticks.
Yep.
I'm fearless. Okay. So we moved to California. I knew I needed to have a co-manager. I looked up a friend of mine. His name was Ron Strassner, who was managing a band called Rare Earth.
Okay.
And their whole song was, "I just want to celebrate. I just want to celebrate." Right. So Ron didn't want to co-manage because he was too busy, but he said, "Go see my friends." And they manage Three Dog Night and Steppenwolf.
Wow. Okay.
So I went to see them, made a deal with them. They co-managed Jerry with me, got him a record deal on Mercury Records, recorded the record at Ike and Tina Turner Studio in Inglewood, which is another story altogether. And then we ended up going on the road as the opening act for a 45-city tour for Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath.
Damn. Wow.
And I'm all of 21 at this point. I still go on the road, and we're in Chicago finishing a show, and both bands went to this club called the Rush Up Club on Rush Street in Chicago, and the drummer in our band, Bobby Ramirez, his name was, may he rest in peace, Bobby, got beat up in a bar fight that night.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so that band obviously broke up. So now it's like I'd been on the road, 2 years, something like that, maybe. And so I'm saying, okay, well, I think I'm going to go back to school. Okay.
Right.
And my friend Neil, who gave me the gig as the roadie, who came from a very rich family, his father set him up in a tour management company. And so he called me up and said, "Hey, man, sorry about Bobby," because he knew Bobby. So what are you going to do? I said, Neil, probably going to go back to school. He said, no, listen, man, I need you to fly to Germany. I said, and do what? He said, well, Emerson, Lake and Palmer is my first client. I need you to tour manage them. So I flew to Germany, and I became Emerson, Lake and Palmer's tour manager for 2 years, traveling around the world with ELP, living at a hotel in London, and just whatever, man, just going for it, right? And then finally that band broke up. I'm sorry. Then I finally decided, I had enough of that. I just want to get out of this thing. But I met Pink Floyd's tour manager on the road with ELP,
Yeah.
And he called me up and said, "Hey, I heard you were leaving ELP. We're looking for a tour manager for the Dark Side of the Moon tours.
Jeez.
Would you like to work with Pink Floyd?" And I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan, bro. I
Right.
mean,
It's a taste. It's a taste. Yeah.
I like the Beatles, bro.
Sure.
Right? So I ended up taking the gig, and I worked for Pink Floyd for 2 years, traveling the
Wow.
country, right?
That's just wild, these connections, man.
As their tour manager, right? Running their tours, private jets, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And then finally, I'm about ready after 2 years. I've been on the road now probably 5-6 years. I'm thinking, I got to get out. I got to I'm done. I'm done being. Rock and roll was never going to be my calling, if you will.
It wasn't really a chosen thing so much.
No,
It was like,
exactly. It was a gig.
yeah.
Although I learned I learned organization, I learned systems, I learned how to deal with people, I learned business, I learned,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I ran
You're an
it
entrepreneur.
all. I ran it all, right? And so finally, I decided to leave them, came back to the States, and good old Jerry LaCroix, my beautiful friend Jerry LaCroix, who died recently, said, "Hey, man, listen, I need your help. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. You remember the band Blood, Sweat, and Tears?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they were looking for a second singer, right? They had the lead singer, they wanted another lead singer, they liked Jerry, so Jerry asked me if I would negotiate his deal so he could sing with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So I did that, and then they conned me into going on the road again for another 8 months. European, Australia, Far East tour with Jerry. Finally, after that, man, I got back to New York, got myself a little small apartment on 79th Street between York and First Avenue,
Uh-huh.
and I went back to school. I went back to NYU. I had plenty of money because I made a lot of money on the road, and I went back to school at NYU. And my brother, and this is a long story, bro. I apologize.
This is great. No, I love the color, man.
Okay. And so my brother, who was the recording engineer, right, at a jingle company in New York.
I was curious. Okay.
All right, and so I'd always see him every time I came off the road. And finally, when I was going back to school, he said, "Hey, man, listen, MZH, which is the name of the company, is looking for a second sales rep. You're going to school 2 days a week. Maybe you want to, take the gig." I said, "Harvey, what am I going to do with these guys? What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, you take their CD around, you go to all the advertising agencies, all the big ones, J. Walter Thompson, Leo Burnett, BBD, and all the big advertising agencies, and you try to get business for them, right?" So I said, "Geez, man, okay, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. I'm used to dealing with songs, bro."
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took the gig, and I ended up getting them a lot of business. So this is kind of where my musical thing started to happen.
For yourself.
Because I'd go into these meetings with either the creative director, art director, copywriter, producer, whatever, and they'd hand me a script and say, "So here." I say, first of all, "Did you like our stuff?" "Yeah, I like it." I said, "You got any business?" And so they'd hand me a script and they'd say, "What do you think?" And bro, I'd sing them something on the spot.
Wow. So you're just taking a script. Are they giving you the full thing, or is it just kind of a concept you're riffing onto?
It's a script, concept, right?
Yeah.
And it had a theme line, might have had a few lyrics, and I started to sing them shit, right? And I had no inhibitions, bro. And and they go, "Oh, that sounds pretty good. Can we do that?" I go, "Absolutely." Then I'd run back to the studio, get with somebody who could play.
Right.
I'd sing them what I sang them. They'd pick it out on the keyboard, and then we'd present, and we'd win some things, we'd lose some things, whatever. So I got more into that, and then they made me their executive producer, and then I didn't have to do the sales thing. But I had a strategy, Joe, man.
That sounds
strategic,
super smart. Yeah.
Right. So I'd make 100 phone calls a day when I was doing the sales rep thing.
Yeah.
I'd make 100 phone calls a day, and I would call certain people on Tuesday, Thursday, certain people on Monday, Wednesday, certain people on Friday and Monday. Just crazy stuff because you can never get to anybody because of voicemail. And finally, I started to get them a lot of business. And then my brother and I left that company, started our own company, conveniently called the Hoffman Sound.
Okay.
Right? Most of the clients came with us. And then my brother and I had a falling out, and I started Paul Hoffman Music in 1980. And I wrote, "Have you driven a Ford lately?"
Yeah.
And it put me on the map.
Yeah.
And
wow.
now I was like one of the guys, one of the top guys. And so for the next 10 years, I was one of the top guys in the jingle business.
Wow. And you have a
making
lot of them too. I mean, what, like
yeah.
Chevy, Pepsi? I mean, I don't have the list in front of me. You could probably
I,
name them, but
well, I've done most of the big accounts, right? And not, I mean, my most successful original one was Have You Driven a Ford lately,
uh-huh.
but you know, and so I ended up being very successful in the jingle business, and then I acquired, as I like to tell people, I acquired a very robust, which is one of my favorite words, cocaine addiction.
I was at that point.
Yes,
Interesting. Not
yes. You didn't,
before when you're on the
no,
road or
no drugs before, bro.
wow.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe a little here and there, but not really. Because
Uh-huh.
I mean I had to get up every morning and be responsible for 50 to 60 people every day,
So now you're on your own. You're doing your own thing.
making a lot
You
of
you're
money.
the star. You're the creator now. The
Exactly.
robustness of the
Yeah.
drugs addiction come in. All right, tell
Right.
me about it.
And so I ended up um, getting for about almost 10 years I had a $2,500 a week cocaine addiction.
2,500 bucks a
Right,
week back
right,
then.
right.
Yeah.
And now all the guys that all the guys that used to play on my jingles and sing were people that you know. I mean, so all the guys in the Letterman band used to play
Okay.
jingles every day
Yeah.
because all those guys were session players,
Right.
right?
They're
And
like
so
the best musicians anyway, right?
right, and so
Yeah.
during the day they would do jingles, and then in the evening or at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is when the Letterman show was taped, they'd go there. Paul Schaefer,
Yep.
Will Lee, Anton Fig, Sid
Uh-huh.
McGinnis, all those guys, right? All played on my jingles when they were available, right?
Wow.
And then, and I used to have Michael Bolton sing on my jingles, and Luther Vandross, and Ashford and Simpson, all these people, right?
Wow.
And then so doing all this cocaine, blah 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 blah, and very successful, making a shitload of money, and really like kind of losing it, if you will. But I didn't think I was losing it. I thought, shit, man, everything's fine with me. And the people that worked for me, who loved me, right, and I loved them, really said, you got to get some help. I said, I don't need any help, man. I'm paying your salary, aren't I? So this is my attitude back then, bro, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so finally, what happened was, in order for them to get off my back, if you will, that was my thinking, okay?
Yeah.
As opposed to looking like they really cared for me, which they did, and they really wanted me not to kill myself, okay?
Which,
I wasn't gonna shoot myself, but I could have, snorted enough cocaine to kill myself. Anyway, so I ended up saying, okay, I'll go get some help. So, so I went to. This is another crazy story. I'm telling you,
It's all right. Take us there, man.
this
This
is
is
all
great.
about sculpting your life, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'll get some help. So I found an outpatient program for drug addiction.
Okay, outpatient.
Meaning you didn't have to check in for 30 days. You just go once a week to see a quote specialist, a doctor, a PhD, a psychologist, whatever. So I found this guy. His name was Dr. Zahn at Regent Hospital on 60th Street and First Avenue. And I had unbelievable insurance, Screen Actors Guild insurance, right?
Oh yeah.
And so I go see the guy, and man, Joe, I got blow in my pocket, I got a fifth of vodka in my shoulder bag, and I go see this guy. And so before I go in to see him, I snort, I take a nice big hit of vodka, and now I'm ready to like talk. I'm like prime, man. I'm
Feeling
greased
great.
up.
You're high. Yeah.
Right. And I go in and talk to the guy. And so we're talking, and the guy looks at me and says, blah, 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 blah. And now this guy's got more plaques on his wall than they have in Harvard, okay? He's an expert in his field.
Sure.
And of course, I'm a drug addict, okay? And I'm going to get over on him.
Yeah, you've done this for so long. And,
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to slide in, bro, and manipulate. So anyway, at least I think I am.
Right.
And so, and by the way, everybody, I don't do that anymore. But I have good expertise in it. Anyway, so I go in and talk to the guy, and I'm talking to him, and finally, after about an hour, he says to me, you're a perfect candidate for this. I think I can help you. I said, thanks, Doc. I mean, I really need help, man. I don't want to lose it all, and I know I got an issue, and I would appreciate anything you could do for me and so forth. He says, okay, great. So listen, we'll start next week, but I just got to let you know, it's a 12-week program. I just got to let you know that we'll meet once a week, but we're going to do a drug test. You're going to have to do a urine sample every week. I said, no problem, Doc. So I leave the office, I get in the elevator, and the first thing I say to myself, excuse my language, Now what the fuck am I gonna do?
The aha moment.
Because now I gotta like go, uh-oh. So I'm not gonna stop doing drugs. I ain't gonna stop drinking vodka. I'm gonna still do what I gotta do.
Yeah.
So I gotta figure out a way now to beat the urine test.
That's the problem.
Now I gotta solve that one, okay?
Yeah.
So I go downstairs, I go to a pharmacy, I go around the vitamin section. I find these capsules that are yellow. Buy them, go home, empty it out into a little jar, shake it up, and it looks just like urine.
You got it.
I got it, Joe.
Oh, man.
So now for 11 weeks, I'm handing in that. Every time they gave me my little bottle, I'd go into the bathroom, empty a capsule, shake it up, hand it in.
Got it.
11 weeks, man. Shit, man. It's like, I got one more week, man. This is cake.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't know anything. Nobody else knows everything. I'm still buying blow. I'm still doing everything I'm doing. So week 12 comes up, right? And he says, Paul, you're really doing well. I think today we'll have a supervised urine test. So they call a male nurse. They take me into the bathroom. I got to pee in front of him. Excuse my language, right? And I'm busted, bro. But I still didn't think I'm busted. I'm going, hey, maybe they won't know, blah blah. Anyway, I leave. I get a call 2 days later. It's Dr. Zahn. Hey, Paul, how you doing? I need you to come in. I need to talk to you. I said, oh, okay, doc, whatever. So I get in there, and he looks at me, and he goes, and he used some very colorful language.
I bet.
And he said, who the F do you think you are? You've been handing in dirt for 11 weeks. We now know that you've not done anything. You've not cleaned. You haven't done them. You don't do the work. So here's what we're going to do, Paul. I'm going to call all your clients, because he got in contact with the guys that work with me.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't tell me. We're going to call all your clients. We're going to call your family. We're going to call all your friends, unless you go home, pack a bag, and you go to a 30-day rehab, inpatient. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean? I said, Paul, we don't need to talk about it. Either you're going to do that or I'm going to do this. So I said, okay. So I went home, packed my bags, and I went up to a 30-day rehab up in the Catskills, in Austin, New York, conveniently called Stony Lodge. And I spent 30 days up there, right? Wow. And now I got to scheme that system.
Of course, yeah. You haven't changed the.
Change. I'm not ready to change anything, bro.
Why would you? No.
Well, exactly. I'm having too much fun. Anyway, so I get into Stony Lodge, and I bring my Walkman. Back then it was a Walkman. My little keyboard. Maybe I got to write a jingle while I'm here. Blah blah. Anyway, I set up this room like it's a recording studio, and the doctor walks in and goes, "Excuse me, what's all this stuff?" I said, "Well, he's getting rid of that crap." My friend Kurt was there who brought me. Get rid of that crap. And by the way, give me your razors and your shoelaces, because I'm afraid you're going to hang yourself. And I said, oh, okay, this is serious now.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, cool. Then I go outside. It's a beautiful sunny day, right? We go play basketball outside. I'm going to get healthy, Joe, for 30 days, okay?
Yeah, of course.
But I go outside and the door's locked. And I look around, I go to the nurse and say, hey, can you open the door? They said, where do you think you're going? I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to go outside. No. You don't go outside unless you earn your privilege to go outside. So now I'm going, okay, so now I got to deal with this. So now I got 30 days in there, and of course I'm doing everything I can to get outside, be the model patient, give everybody the impression I'm really serious about getting sober, and I do that.
Yeah.
And then finally what happens is I end up getting out, and 30 days later I left there, and on the way home I went to the dealer in Cops and Blow and had 4 more years of running until November 14th, 1988, and this is the end of this episode, if you will, where I was still making a lot of money, being very successful. My phone kind of stopped ringing because I was impossible to be around. I would be like a terror in the studio, tell clients who were paying me $50,000 a day to go fuck themselves, and all that stuff. And November 14th, 1988, I had a psychotic reaction, and was put in a straitjacket.
Jeez.
You ever been in a straitjacket?
Never. I've seen them.
Uncomfortable, Joe.
I bet.
It's uncomfortable.
Wow.
And I was taken to the 14th floor psych ward of St. Vincent's Hospital in New York City, detoxed for 2 weeks, went to my last rehab, which was my third rehab, and then just reinvented myself. And then I got out of there, moved to California, got back in the jingle world, did really, really well, reinvented myself, but I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I met a guy named T. Harbecker.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I went to, I got involved with a spiritual center in LA called Agape. So I'm sculpting my life this way. I'm really kind of like understanding where and why I do what I did. If I, and it was really more about self-worth issues. I mean, I was a self-taught musician, but I got consummate musicians and people who are Paul Schaefer of the world and people like that playing my shit. I'm singing them what they're supposed to play, and I'm thinking they're looking at me like, who the hell is this guy? He don't know anything, right? And meanwhile, it's like, so I don't think I'm worthy enough for anything.
Right.
It's self-worth, right?
That's a mind juggler. I don't know what the hell you call it. It's
a mind trap.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I ended up deciding after I went to Agape, and getting deep into the spiritual practice that I now have, which is really solid, not religious but spiritual, and I met T. Harbecker at Agape, and he says, hey man, you want to come to my Millionaire Mind Intensive? I had never been to a personal development thing in my life. I didn't even know what the hell it was. And I said, sure. So I went to it. It's a free 3-day thing in Laguna Beach. I went down there, sat there for 3 days. I thought he was an awesome teacher, right? It was like fascinating, new world here, my God, right?
Yeah.
And so after the thing, he comes up to me and says, so what'd you think? I said, well, Harv, I think you're a great teacher, man. I don't understand everything you're doing, but I got to tell you something, man. Your music sucks. He said,
that's what you're focused on.
He said, what do you mean by? I said, well, you seem to be playing over 3 days every cliched money song out there. Money, Money, Money by the OJs. Pink Floyd's Money. The Beatles' Money Can't Buy You Love. All these money songs to fit into your principles. Why don't you have your own song? Because then I'm coming marketing music. Have you driven a Ford lately? Mark, right? He said, well, how would I do that? He had a big attitude. I said, I'll write you one. How about that? So I wrote him a song, which I sent to you as one of the songs, called I've Got a Millionaire Mind. The course was called the Millionaire Mind Intensive. During the course, he'd have everybody look at it. Hey, look next to your neighbor, give him a high five and say, I've got a millionaire mind. So that's what I called the song.
Cool.
Wrote the song, sang it live. He comes up to me after it and says, hey, man, can you write songs for all my courses? And I said, the only negotiating tactic I ever used, Joe, which is, if the deal's right, I could do anything.
That's clever. I like how you frame that.
Yeah, it's not about like, well, it's $5 here. No, if the deal's right, I can do anything.
That's right.
You tell me what you want to do.
Yeah.
Put the ball in your court.
That's right.
So I ended up making a deal. I wrote a bunch of songs for him, and all of a sudden Jack Canfield called me. Right, Chicken Soup. Say, hey Paul, this is Jack Canfield. I knew who Mark Victor Hansen was, his partner in Chicken Soup.
Yep.
And I said, hey Jack, how you doing? He said, listen, let me get right to the point. I heard Harbecker got a song. How do I get one?
You're like, okay, you're talking to the right guy.
And now I'm thinking, okay. So I wrote Jack's Breakthrough to Success. And then Jack said, can you do another one? And then I said to myself, geez, I think I'm onto something. So I'm going to create a little business here. So I created my company called Success Songs, which you still have. If you go to successsongs.com, you can put your name and email in. Of course, I'm going to email you, blah, blah. And I give you 2 songs. So I've written Harbecker, Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Brendan Burchard, Lisa Nichols, Alex Mandozian, and the list goes on.
Cool.
And so that's kind of how I got into what I do. But I write the songs from a standpoint of understanding that if you can change your mind state, which is my word for mindset, now getting into my Sculpting Your Life, if you would.
Yeah.
I haven't let you talk at all, Joe, and I apologize.
You're okay, man. This is riveting. Like you got a whole journey. Yeah.
So mind, because your mind state creates your mindset. It doesn't work the other way, because you all know what state of mind is, and state of mind is really how you think.
Hey, I just want to pause this episode really fast and shout out a podcast that's also on the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. This one's a podcast that's hosted by someone I've followed for years. The name is Donald Miller. He has the whole Story brand book and all the different stuff online. He hosts the podcast called Business Made Simple. The premise is to basically take the mystery out of growing your business. And he recently had on, one of the other guys I follow is Alex Hermosi. And right at the beginning of the year, they're talking about facing uncertainty in your business. And Alex and Donald, they talk about different ways, 4 different ways to basically shore up your business to ride the uncertain times that inherently are the ones we're living in 2024. So make sure to go check that out. Go listen to Business Made Simple, that episode with Alex Hermosi, but also the other ones wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, I want to tell you about an all-in-one marketing platform that's been a game changer for a bunch of businesses. It's called Kartra, and it's the all-in-one tool that you need to grow. So the point is, you don't need to pay for a whole bunch of different subscriptions because Kartra does it all. So what makes Kartra different is that you can automate everything. Everything from delivering your online courses, sending targeted emails, selling products, and even handling your customer support. So all in all, it's saving you time and a bunch of money. And right now, you can try it out for 30 days. Just head over to hustleandflowchart.com/Kartra and go get that free trial. Again, that is hustleandflowchart.com/KARTRA.
So success songs will change your mind states, behaviors, and beliefs.
And how is it doing that? Is it, because I know it's almost like affirmation-y mixed in with...
Exactly. It's just the lyrical approach of being able to inspire and empower and instill a different thought process or a different message, if you will, than you're normally used to hearing.
Got
you
it.
know, I mean, rap music's cool, but I'm not interested in talking about hoes and blah, blah, blah. I'm into saying, you know, today's the day I get to say I'm living life in my own way, you know, and things like that. So,
Yep.
so I ended up, as I say, creating this company called Success Songs, writing all these songs, and then one day I said to Harv, I said, hey, listen, man, I want to start speaking. He said, so what are you going to speak about? I said, I'm going to speak about how I went from what I just told you to where I am now, which is actually getting people to understand that within you is everything necessary. You already have it to live your epic ideal life. All you got to do is get out of the way, access it, activate it, and integrate it in everything you do.
Get out of the way, access it, activate it, integrate. Yes.
And then he said, okay. And I said, and I do that through getting people to discover, because I'm a personal discovery architect, getting people to discover how a morning ritual, because I'm very, very strategic on how I begin my day. And I'll tell you a little about that in a minute.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hear. Yeah.
So a very strategic, because how you start your day will determine the kind of day you have.
Right.
Now, will your day always be like, hey, my day's great? Absolutely not. But unless you give yourself the opportunity to create a great day, then you're going to just be flowing in the cesspool that you're always in.
It's kind of like priming the pump right before priming the day.
Absolutely. And again, because if you keep doing the same thing that you've been doing over and over and getting the same results,
insanity.
That's insanity, man. So I do it through rituals, habits. I'm a big habit guy.
Yep.
And there's good habits and there's bad habits, okay? And mind state. Because how you think is how you're going to be. Yeah. So the internal conversation that you have with yourself, which you have the ability to change and dictate, by the way, the internal conversation you have with yourself determines what you're going to do.
It makes so much sense. It's your wiring.
Yeah, and it's not rocket science. So, I go back to what Harv taught people how to change their money blueprint. Because the truth of the matter, Joe, is if you think you're poor, oh man, I just don't have this, I just don't have that, then guess what? You're not going to have this and you're not going to have that. Because if you focus on what you don't want and what you don't have, you're going to get more of that. But if you focus on who you want to be and what you'd like in your life, then you're going to look at that and put your energy and your vision and your energy and your frequency into that. And eventually it's going to show up. And then I realized that, okay, if I can create this whole platform about understanding that within me and within everybody is a masterpiece. There's nobody on the planet like you, bro. And there's nobody on the planet like me. And that's just the way it is.
Yep.
source, God, okay? I believe in God, but source is my guide.
Sure.
So source directs me, all right? And you know, I don't control anything.
How could you? There's too much to control or try to.
The only thing I can control is how I think. And so when I get up in the morning, I talk about a morning ritual. So I get up in the morning, bro, and I spend the first hour of my day on me. I never look at this.
That
Okay?
phone, nope.
You know what? Because if you look at this first thing in the morning, it's game over. Okay? Because now you're giving your power over to something outside of you. And see, there's nothing outside of you that can make you happy. Now you might think, oh man, I got the beautiful car. Great. Oh, I got this big ass house. Great. Oh, I got this fine, beautiful woman. Great. Whatever it is. But if you want to love something or love a person or whomever, you got to love yourself first.
Yeah.
Because life is a mirror image. And, you know, I remember years ago when I was just starting out in the whole PD world, if you will. And the reason I don't call it personal development or personal growth is because everybody else does.
I love your tweaks in language. It's
Right.
everywhere. Yeah.
And so when I say I'm a personal discovery architect, what that means basically is, you know, if I want to develop something, I have to discover what I want to develop, and then I got to architect it. So when I work with somebody, and I don't even call it work anymore, excuse me, I call it play. So when I play with somebody, my intention, it's all about intention, is to manifest their ability to discover what they want to develop in their life, and then I'm going to get them to architect it.
Because now they've been rewired, or at least you've guided them to that point where whatever aha moment probably just bursts in a good way. And now it's just, hey, it's take the move, integrate, go take some actions on it.
And that's the case in anything you're doing in life. And you know, so if you want to love somebody, you got to love yourself. So I remember years ago, you know, that whole expression, you know, like from Zig Ziglar to Jim Rome to Bob Proctor, all those guys, they all used to say, you know, your inner reality creates your outer circumstance.
That's right.
So I reframe it. I go, your environment, I-N, environment creates your environment, E-N. Okay.
I haven't heard that one from you. That's good. Okay.
Yeah. And then what happens is you're able to understand that everything emanates from within you. And so where's the first place you should work on? Or where's the first place you need to shift? It's your internal dialogue.
Yeah.
It's your internal presence. It's your internal frequency. That's what you got to shift first if you want something different out here.
Yeah. And we can control that through a lot of means. And I'm curious on the morning how you're priming.
I get up every morning. Yeah, I got this. Again, not everybody needs to do what I do, but you got to do something. So I get up every morning. The first thing I do, bro, is pray. I look at the ceiling. I don't get out of bed yet. I just pray and I just say, thank you, Mother, Father, God, for this ability to have another new day in my life, you know, and for the ability for me to show up, stand in who I truly am, and face adversity and challenges and whatever. And thank you for giving me the strength, blah, blah, whatever I say to do that. Then the next thing I do is I do a gratitude exercise, because gratitude gets me into my heart.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for 3 people every morning. I don't know sometimes who they are, and sometimes I do, whatever, but they just come into my consciousness, okay? So I do a gratitude exercise, and then I drink a great glass of water, so I hydrate.
Yep.
Then I get out of bed, and I'll find the animals. He left somewhere, I don't know where he found
Yeah, I saw walking around a little bit.
Right, so I find, that's Peekaboo and Bliss, my 2 cats. I find them, and I spend probably 5 to 10 minutes with them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Because what they do is they teach me unconditional love.
That's the truth.
So they get me into a love vibe, okay? Out of my head into my heart. And then I listen to my 15-minute good morning, great day sculptation. That's my my binaural beat stuff, right? Okay. Which I do differently than most people do. And I don't call it meditation, because everybody else calls it meditation.
Sculptation, yeah.
Yeah, it's called, and what's the process? It's called tuning in. So what's meditation? Tuning in. And it's funny because a lot of people say to me, you know, man, I'm going to go meditate and quiet my mind. You know what I tell them, Joe?
What's that?
Good effing luck.
Because you got a monkey mind up top.
Well,
Most of us do. We all do.
your mind's not designed to be quiet.
Yeah.
But your mind is designed to go where you want it to go.
And it's
Again,
receptive to that, right?
Internal. It's an internal thing. So you can direct your mind to where you want it to go. Yeah, you're going to be bombarded with all this stuff. So what'll have to happen is when you tune in, you're bombarded. Let all that other stuff flow through, and the stuff that you go, grab it and use it, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I do that. So I listen to my 15-minute Good Morning Great Day Sculptation where I'm talking to myself. I do all the visualization, which I don't call visualization. I call it mind sculpting. Of course, I don't call it visualization because everybody else does. I call it mind sculpting, and I'm talking myself into having a great day.
And this is your voice that you're
My
listening.
voice.
Yeah, I've done these like my own kind of recordings and mantras before. I'm like, damn, that is powerful when it's you doing the talking.
Because who knows you better than you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And then after I do that, what I do is I read 3 books every day religiously. I read 365 days of, it's over here. Think and Grow Rich.
Oh, okay. Yep. Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, so today I read October 26th. Now I've read this book 13 years in a row.
Wow.
So I just read, so I mean I've read this same day 100 times at this point of a year.
Yeah.
365 days of this, 365 days of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Covey.
Covey.
Yeah.
And a book called The Art of Living by a guy named Epictetus, who's around the Plato, Aristotle time. And I just flip it. I go, okay, good. That's a good page to read because it's not there's no date in it, right? So I just read that. So I read those 3 things, okay? And then I get up because, I'm trying to stay in movement, if you will.
Yep.
And I walk around, and I have a deck over here, and I walk out. I got my deck, and I talk to my plants and touch my plants because they're living beings.
Yeah.
Then I come back in, and I got this big-ass plant over here. His name is Happy, or her name is Happy, whatever you want it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I've had Happy was this big when I got it. Happy now is overtaken this part of the house over there.
Happy's pretty damn happy.
But Happy's happy.
Yeah.
And every time I talk to Happy, I know he's happy because he makes me happy.
Oh,
okay?
man.
And then I sit down and I write, good morning, great day.
So
Okay?
physical journal.
Physical. So I've written good morning, great day for, I would say, the last 10 years.
Wow. So what is that? Is that your prompt to then start going from that point on? Good morning, great.
So I got a book deal, Joe, on Good Morning, Great Day, okay? With a publishing company called Morgan James Publishing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to do it, but so it's a 365-day book, okay? And I didn't write it today because I got up late. I'd probably write it, 97% of the time. There's a few days I don't write it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So today's Good Morning, Wednesday. I wrote it Wednesday. The last one I wrote was Wednesday, right? Which was yesterday, right? And I'll read it to you. This is what they are. Would it be okay if I read it?
Beautiful. Yeah, please.
Okay, so it's always called Good Morning, Great Day, and there's always a title. And yesterday's was called Believe in You Unconditionally. Okay? And it goes like this. Every day, it always starts with today, ... I'm a big ellipsis kind of guy. Today, make every thought and every belief you have empower and inspire you so that any mind trap, which is my word for limiting belief, any mind trap loses its power over you. Anchor your decisions so the actions you take are aligned in a mind state where possibility is the only outcome possible. Wake up to who you are. Yes, it might make you feel uncomfortable at times. However, own your power and step up your game. A renewed sense of purpose has taken over, and you feel a frequency of fearlessness aligned in all you do. You have a mind state of certainty. A new you is seeking to be fully expressed, calling you, so tune into your brilliance and blaze a path paved with limitless pearls of excellence. Get out of your own way. let the universe do its thing, and stop making excuses for what you want in life. Believe in you unconditionally.
Man. Yep, that needs to be a book.
So it's always 6 little five line kind of paragraphs, if you will.
Yeah.
So I've written hundreds of these things, bro, and they're different every morning. So
And you have those are online, right? I believe I've seen some of them, or at least
I put them on Facebook every day.
Facebook. There you go.
Yeah, so I do that every day, and then I do a word for the day on Facebook, and then I do this this little boom boom thing.
Yep.
Then I do this thing called Paul's Mind Says. So basically, I repurpose. I write it once, and then I just pick parts of it and repurpose.
You're made for content marketing and all. Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it forever, obviously.
Right, and now I'm creating card decks around these things as well.
Okay.
But so I do this, and I write it for me, man. Because it just gets me out, man. It gets me out of this.
Yeah.
And there, and so that, and then after I do that, right. So now I'm about maybe an hour into my morning, if you will. Then I will juice, make my juice, because I juice every day. Cool. I've been a vegetarian for 40 years. Uh-huh. I juice every day, make my little vegan smoothie, okay? And then I go out either on the deck. I used to go to Gold's Gym every day. Either I go out on the deck, I got a spin bike out there, either go out on the deck, and I got some free weights and bands and stuff. Either go out on the deck and do it out there, or I'll go downstairs in the car park, and I'll do an hour and a half of workout.
Okay, hour and a half. Wow,
yeah.
Beast.
So now I'm ready to start my day.
Yeah.
So I get up around 5:30, 6 at the latest. So by 10, I'm ready to go, man.
You're juiced. I mean, you've done all of the priming you need to.
Absolutely. And so the thing about me and the thing that really kind of excites me the most about when I do personal discovery things with people is really to get them to understand that you can have anything you want in your life.
Right.
Any damn thing that you want. Okay? The I wish I could, or I think I can, or someday I will, or any of that crap.
Yeah.
It's just crap.
Well, and most of us, so my thinking here is the biggest struggle is most people have no clue who they are. And unless something smacks them across the face, some life event, I mean, this has happened to me. Talked about it before on here. Losing my dad to suicide was a big holy shit moment. Then having a baby, my first child, 2 weeks after that point. So it was like lowest of lows to the highest. Kind of highs, but still confused as hell. But my awakening was that period of time and realizing, holy shit, there's a lot of patterns that my dad gave to me with love, but a lot of it was without awareness or consciousness because, conditioning. And we all have that as humans. I mean, everyone, parents or whoever raised you. Could have been life on the streets, whatever. But either way, most of us have no clue what these patterns are. So we're just perpetuating the cycle to everyone around us. And our kids, that's the one thing I realized, I do not want to perpetuate these whatever, negative patterns or whatever we want to label them. But, in that moment, that's when I finally realized, and through a bunch of work, actually uncovering those and getting real with those patterns. That's exactly what you're saying here, man. And then you do the work to progress to where you want to go.
Yeah, and see, and the thing is that, man, I can't remember who said this, but, change is painful. Mm-hmm. Okay? And most people won't go through change because it's painful, right? And so they'd rather, but here's what happens. So it's a fascinating thing about human nature. So change is painful, and most people won't do it until it's so fucking painful that they got to change. And so some people will go right to the edge of that and then go, God, I got to change my life. When as if you just realize that, you know what? Life's going to throw you curveballs.
Mm-hmm, no matter what.
So sometimes you're going to whiff. Sometimes you better hit them. Life's going to throw you fastballs. Sometimes you're going to whiff, and sometimes you're going to hit them. But as long as life's throwing you things that will be opportunities, because every challenge is an opportunity, opportunities for your growth and transformation, then you might as well seize that moment and go for it.
Yeah.
Okay? But a lot of people end up retreating. A lot of people just, have all these, I call them mind traps, okay? That's my word for limiting beliefs, okay? But most people just are not willing to do something different that challenge them to get out of their comfort zone. Because a lot of people are in their comfort zone, which I actually call your no zone. I've had many discussions with Condora, my girlfriend, about it. Because I always say that, listen, when you're in your comfort zone, you're going nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like when you're a kid or adult, whatever it is, and you're on a seesaw. If you're going up and down, there's movement. But most people just want to go in balance on those kind of things. So when you're in balance, and I don't like to use that word balance, I'm more about a harmony kind of guy.
Yeah, I always use harmony instead of balance too.
Yeah, fuck balance. Anyway, harmony. But when you're doing that, you're going nowhere. So in order for you to get from point A to point B in anything in your life, you've got to move. You've got to move, bro. And in business, being able to create a successful business takes you it takes the know-how and the sensibility for you to, like you talked about earlier, know what you want to do.
Yeah.
Know what you want to do, but know why you want to do it. Now the how will take care of itself, okay? But the what and the why are very important pieces of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go through the motions and then they go, geez, I don't know why I'm doing that. And it's okay. A lot of people sometimes, every time I speak, a lot of people say to me, and I never regret anything, bro.
Good.
And I mean that from a really, really solid point of view, because I learned that if I regret, then I'm just like beating myself up.
Well, and it's all past shit, right? That you're cycling through and revisiting.
Exactly. And so I always, every time, sometimes when I come off stage from speaking, I go through this whole story, man. I go through I tell everybody I'm an open book.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about the man with no legs, so that could be another story. Okay.
Next time.
But yeah. So people say, don't you regret all that money you spent on cocaine and all those things that you did and blah, 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 blah. And I kind of I don't have a watch, but I make it and I go, I don't have a watch. What time is it? No, oh, it's 2 o'clock. Oh, okay, so it's 2 o'clock on whatever date it is. I go, no, here's the thing. It's 2 o'clock on October 26th, 2023. All I have is right now. Okay? And everything that I've ever done in my life up until right now has gotten me to right now. So I don't regret anything.
Hell no. Why would you, man? This is the colorful life that chose you, but you're choosing how you witness, how you navigate through it the best you can.
Which is beautiful, because the truth is, when you say witness, I love that, because the whole idea, you probably read The Power of Now.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about that book, I think it's an awesome book, but the whole idea of the witness. So when you're able to step up and step out and witness your life, then you can change it. So the thing about tuning in, it's really a 7-step process. So tuning in is the first step is observe. So it's my word for witness. I could say witness, but Eckhart says witness. I don't want to steal all his shit, right? Or borrow, I should say.
Sure.
So observe. So observe where you are in your life. And step 2 is then once you observe where you are, you can identify what's holding you back or propelling you forward. Okay, so if it's propelling you forward, obviously you want to do more of it. If it's holding you back, you want to get rid of it. Okay? Identify, observe. So once you do that, then you can reframe what's holding you back. So if there's something that's holding you back, a mind trap's holding you back, you maybe, you fear of failure, you don't feel worthy, I'm unlovable, whatever it might be, then you can reframe that and then pivot into a new way of being, anchor it, activate it, and integrate it. That's it.
It's the process that you can apply to anything.
Absolutely. And so in anything you do in life, that's why entrepreneurs a lot of time, and of course I've been guilty of this too, a lot of entrepreneurs a lot of times forget that there's other aspects of life than making money, if you will. No, money's just energy, Joe. Okay? Yep. Now, I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Oh, man, all you want to do is make money. No, that's not all I want to do. But I do want to make money. Because money will give me freedom to do what I want to do. And it's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money. Okay, so how much do you need to do all the things that you want to do, to live the way you want to do, to take care of your family, to do all those kind of things, but do you give back? Because if you don't give back, then one day the money's going to dry up, because it's karma. Okay, it's the yin and the yang, if you will, and that's just a universal principle. You know, I read this great book called The Kabbalion. Okay, it's a 7-step. It's all about hermetic principles, right?
Okay.
The old Egyptian principles, if you will. All that old stuff is what's still today. You know, it's like there's no new ideas.
No.
There's just our interpretation of the old ideas.
It's how you apply them. Yeah, new labels, our interpretation. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're able to like understand that again, the first thing in moving your life forward in whatever you want to do is you can't expect anybody else. Expectations create disappointment, by the way. You can't expect anybody else to do it for you. You got to do it.
Yeah.
So if you're clear on what your vision is, because vision's a very important part of life, vision and purpose.
Yep.
Okay. If you're clear on what that is, then you should be able to do it. And I like to always tell people, when you come up with a new idea, there's always three forms of an idea, bro. There's the idea, I'm going to create X. And then there's the outcome, which is C. X will give me this, okay? A and C. What happens in B is the most important thing in life.
That's bridging the gap.
Yeah, most people, when they get to B, they go, oh, geez, I don't know how to do that. And they'll never do it. Because they talk themselves out of it, because they're in fear of some kind of thing. They don't think they can do it. I can't do it. I don't know, blah, blah. I don't know the right people. I don't blah, blah. Whatever excuse, okay? And, you know, there's always two forms to an excuse, Joe.
Give them to me.
There's the excuse you make for something, and then there's the excuse you make for the excuse, which becomes your reality.
And that's the deeper inside work.
Absolutely.
To drop.
And so when you come up with an idea, man, it's like, okay, so I'll use me as an example. I want to create a podcast. So you know what I say to myself? What do I need to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
And you know what? One of the things was to talk to Joe Fier.
My man.
What do I need to do to make it happen, man? Because it's not like, you know, I'm a vessel here, man. I'm a vessel that wants to share whatever I know, whatever's been given to me, I want to just give back.
Yes. Express it.
Yeah, and so that's what people, you know, people miss that, because, you know, people are afraid to ask for things, or, you know, and, you know, worried about saying no. Well, you know, if somebody says no, you know what happens?
What's that?
That means you're saying yes to something else.
Yeah, definitely.
All right?
And it's either you choose it or it's going to choose you.
Right. And when one door closes, another one's getting ready to open.
Yeah.
So it's never black and white. We live in a rainbow of opportunity here. You know,
Full spectrum.
If you just join in the party called your life, then, man, you can make any goddamn thing happen that you want.
You can. And, man, the thing that I keep going back to, and I've been hearing it a lot more. I had UFC champ Frank Shamrock on the podcast that chatted with him last week, and everything's play. Everything, like, you know, if you want to learn how to break a leg, you play. You first figure out how to not break your own leg, and then you figure out, okay, that's how you break a leg, you know, and then you just play until you figure that shit out. And then everybody around you kind of works together. If you fail, it's okay. You get to figure something out and have more fun. Yeah,
you know, making mistakes is exciting. You know, I mean, you know, I always tell the story about how they discovered Velcro, right? This guy was he worked at actually happened to work at 3M, right? I thought I had a piece of Velcro here, and he was walking his dog, all right, and he was walking in, like, you know, a forest, whatever it was. He got home, and he had a long-haired dog. I think it was an Irish setter, and he saw all these burrs on him, and he tried to pick the burrs off, and he realized when he picked the burrs off, the burrs were kind of stuck to the dog, and the guy said, "Huh." What if you could get something where you could attach something to something? And that's how Velcro came up.
That's wild. Yeah.
Right? and so the thing about, you know, it's very easy to play the victim
Yep.
Okay, very easy to play the victim, and a lot of people like to do that, and they just get joy out of it. Whatever, that's up. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody, but blame is very poisonous.
Well, and blame, it's not fair to other people. If you're perpetuating that, especially if it's willingly, and you
Yeah,
know you're not doing the work, you're not going to that dark place, it's not as bad as you think when you start opening it up. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable as hell and dark. It could be also enlightening and freeing. It always is freeing, right? When you bring
yeah,
it up. Because now you got something to do. Like you got something to work with. You can mold something new and yeah,
absolutely.
sculpt your life through it.
You
Damn.
know, and there's always, in order to have light, you got to have dark.
Mm.
In order to have dark, you got to have light. I think, or did I just say that? But anyway, you know what I meant. But because it's a mirror image. Everything's a mirror image,
Yeah.
right? And it's never and there's a lot of times, and we were just talking about this the other day. Is a lot of times, how many times have you and people tend to always go to the negative sometimes.
Yeah.
So you text somebody, and they don't get back to you right away. That's because you have an expectation. You want them to be very much.
Yeah.
Oh man, they don't like me. Well, maybe their phone dropped in the fucking ocean. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so there's always something that is in play, if you will.
Yeah.
And as long as you are open and willing to experience life to its fullest, and not get caught up in the mishigas, if you will, of negativity, and give yourself, like, the ability to own who you are. You're a unique individual, man. There ain't nobody like you. Just own who you are. Take responsibility for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people don't hold themselves responsible. I mean, one of the things I like to begin whenever I'm playing around with somebody in a personal discovery thing is, I ask two questions. Hey, do you hold yourself accountable for all your decisions?
Mm.
And when you do you take responsibility for them? Or do you blame them on somebody else, or do you think you're a victim?
That's right in the middle of the eyes right there. At least it should be.
We all have the ability. Now, listen. Okay, circumstances are circumstances. Some people are born, whatever. I mean, we both know people that were born in the lap of luxury. Who I've known people who were born in the lap of luxury who killed themselves.
Oh
Okay?
yes, many.
And we also know people who have been born into poverty and circumstances that we wouldn't wish on anybody, who've created amazing things in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about His, man. It's really about what's in here. Because
Yeah.
what's
Hard.
in here is unadulterated,
Mm.
and it's only poisoned by what you take from here to put in here.
Mm. Man, Paul, oh man, love yourself. I had a Kamal Ravikant on the podcast a couple years ago, and he has this whole book, Love Yourself, like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
And ain't that the truth?
And that is the truth, bro.
And man, like what you're doing, I love your work. I love your stories. I hope everyone can relate to some I mean, it's all about applying it. And this is where how colorful your story is. And thank you for sharing so freely too, all the details.
And thank you for having me, Joe. I mean,
Of course.
it's a joy to be able to play around with and do the dance with you, bro, because you're just an awesome human being.
Thank
But
you.
the truth of the matter is, again, who's ever listened to this, we all got stuff. We all got crap. We all got whatever, but we also all of us also have the ability to create gems in who we are, and to really fly to any height you want to get to, and to soar, and to free this imagination of yours, and to be creative and do all that stuff. And the only barriers and roadblocks that happen in your life are made-up limitations you think you have, because you have no freaking limitations.
Feels good, man.
Period.
Feels good to know that, to hear that.
Absolutely.
That's everything. It's like every time I talk to you, there's that message, and it's so true. It's in all the music. So definitely go. I'm going to link up a whole bunch of stuff in the show notes here for anyone who wants to dive in. And
appreciate
my
it.
God, like so Where are some a few places people should follow along? Because I know you have a lot going on. We already mentioned the podcast. Sculptingyourlife.com is the hub.
Right, that's the hub, and I'm actually redoing that site now. But sculptingyourlife.com, you can go to Sculptations, which is the brain stuff, where you could download a couple of tracks and to experience it. Success Songs is another one, and very soon we'll be giving everybody an opportunity to taste the Good Morning Great Day every morning.
That's gonna be cool, man.
Yeah,
I want that sitting on my desk here.
Yeah.
And I got my Stoicism book over here, the Ryan Holiday one. That's a nice one. It's a good one. But yeah, man, Paul, with what you're doing, I love that you're sharing the light. I could see why everyone loves you, and there's a reason why you come up in conversation a lot, because it's needed more than ever right now, and especially entrepreneurs. We're the ones to do the change in the world. It's up to us, and truly, it's life or death.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I love you, man.
Love you too. All right. That's what I got for you today. And remember, it's not all about living to work. It's all about working to live, if you need to do the work. But work can be fun, and it should be fueling for your life. So if you enjoyed what you just heard, if you got some nuggets of wisdom that you want to share, or you're just noodling on right now, please go tell others. The way that people find this show and how you can help others get their aha moments is through word of mouth. So if it is telling your friend, telling your family, sending an email to your list, writing a review, or whatever it might be, everything helps. So thank you so much for listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, and I will see you next time.